All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, the whole Zimmerman trial, that's the big hot button topic right now. Everybody's talking about the Zimmerman trial. That's the hot thing right now. That's in the media. I went in depth about Zimmerman and the trial and my opinion on it this Sunday on my Ustream show. I was just spitting, turned all the way up for like 3 hours. Classic show. It's been circulating all around the net. And if you can check that out. And I'm going to hit a couple of bullet points here that I hit on last night, plus more. Oh, well, not last night, but on Sunday night. Now, remember last week's show, I predicted, and I won't even say predicted, I just knew based on history and sociology that Zimmerman would most likely go free. And sure enough, George Zimmerman, the man who murdered the teenage innocent kid Trayvon Martin, he has been found not guilty of murder and manslaughter, second-degree murder, yada, yada, yada. And a lot of people are talking about it right now. A lot of people are getting into it, and what's so interesting about this whole thing, people are talking about the racial element, and we're talking about race in this country without talking about race. Because every other channel, people are pretending to have a race conversation, but we're not talking about race. Race is the elephant in the room. All we're doing is dancing around the racial issue. We're not talking about race. We're dancing around it. A lot of people in the dominant society are in denial, and that's how you maintain something. If you just deny that it exists, even though it's there, that's like almost a joke now. It's almost an inside joke to deny something that's blatantly there, to deny that it exists. And you know it's there, but it's like we have the power to deny it, even though I know it's there, and you know it's there, and you know that I know it's there, but we're so powerful we can deny it, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's the general consensus right now as far as the whole racial issue, as far as this trial. And black folks are really scared to go in. Because have you noticed on television, there's a lot of bootlicking, cooning, shucking, jiving. And I understand a lot of times if you're not doing that, they won't even give you airtime. I understand that. But even some of the niggas on Twitter and your social networking sites, the outside media, they don't really control that. And I still see a lot of bootlicking going on there as well, especially with a lot of public figures. And that's kind of disappointing. A lot of our rappers and a lot of our athletes, well, they got them on a short leash, don't they? Oh, they've been kind of quiet. They've been having them niggas in check. Now, a few people have spoken out. I know there were some athletes who kind of said something and they had to quickly issue apologies. So that just shows the plantation mentality that goes on with a lot of so-called African-American people in our society. It's a sad thing. But again, this whole denial of race is almost comical at this point. And all of these networks and news outlets, they're pretending to talk about race, but they're not talking about anything. It's like a big game that everybody's playing. And we want to get into the real tonight. I want to talk about the real deal tonight. Now, the thing is, some people are saying, well, this isn't about race. How come y'all can't take the racial element out of it? Now, let's just take the racial element out of it. Let's say Trayvon Martin was an Eskimo. Zimmerman is still guilty. If Trayvon Martin was a Martian or an alien from another planet, Zimmerman is still guilty. No matter what Trayvon's race is, what Zimmerman did was wrong and he's still guilty. So yeah, let's take race out of it. That motherfucker still shouldn't have done that. He's guilty. So it's not really about race. Whatever race he did that to, he should have been found guilty. The thing is, you inject race by letting his ass go. You inject race by not even wanting to prosecute him in the first place. The dominant society, they put race into it. You want to pretend that it's all about stand your ground. It's not about stand your ground, people. That's the Jedi mind trick. It's about the law. It's about stand your ground. It's not about race. It's about stand your ground. Let me tell y'all something. A lot of these gun laws in the country were founded in race in their inception. They were racially based laws in its inception. Many gun laws. A lot of times in this country, up until deep into the 20th century, it was illegal for a lot of black people to have guns. I know down in Atlanta, like there was a riot in the early 1900s, it was illegal for blacks to get guns. So all over the country, it was illegal for blacks to get guns all over. So a lot of gun laws were racially based, just like drug laws. I talked about that Sunday, how many drug laws were racially based. The cocaine law, they created hysteria talking about the cocaine crazed black men going around raping everybody, so they had to make cocaine illegal. So a lot of laws that they try to hide behind, they leave out the fact that the laws were already racially based in its inception. So the stand your ground law is no different. This is why a lot of black people who try to use stand your ground, it doesn't work for them in Florida. There's a couple of cases in Florida where people are trying to use the stand your ground. There was an old elderly man, I think his name was Trevor Dooley. He's like 71 years old. Some white dude was choking him out, and the brother had to use his gun and shoot him. And he tried to use the stand your ground law. They were like, no, Pops, you're going to have to take your old black ass to jail. Look that up. There's another sister, Marissa Alexander. The sister, she shot a gun in the air because of her husband. He was threatening her or something like that. She shot a gun in the air, gave a warning shot. They gave this sister 20 years. They didn't let her use the stand your ground law. She tried to use the stand your ground. It don't work on black folks. The law is not for black folks. So let's just be realistic, so nobody's pulling this stuff out of our asses. And the thing is, black folks, this is to you, because again, trying to convince the dominant society, hey, look at your inaccuracies, they know. So now it's up to black folks, what are you going to do about it? This is what we're going to talk about today. But I just want black folks in America to not keep going for the Jedi mind tricks. You're wasting a lot of energy trying to convince them of something, and they know it's a hustle, they know it's a scam, but the whole denial thing, that's what's going on in our country. And right now, you have to understand, when they let Zimmerman go, he's not guilty for killing an innocent kid. They wage war on black America. The war has been raised. The line has been drawn. It's official now. And I'm telling you, it's only going to get worse. Now, I'm calmed down from Sunday. I was turned all the way up on Sunday, but now I'm more level-headed. I was level-headed Sunday, but I'm just calmer now, and I just want to have people chop up game and just figure out ideas on what to do. Because that's where we are right now. We need to come up with some solutions as to what we need to do. Because again, black folks are very passive in this country. Black people are on this docile shit. Now, I know a lot of people are doing the Twitter threats. Oh, and if he gets found not guilty, I'm going to go in the streets and just light this shit up. You ain't going to do shit but put on your skinny jeans and skateboard. You ain't going to do a goddamn thing, and you didn't do a goddamn thing. Let's just keep it P.I. till we D.I. And we're going to have to be very practical. Now, there's been protests. There's not been any riots. Some people are talking about there's been riots around the country. You had a couple of people bust windows here and there, but there's no riot. They were talking about in L.A. they were rioting. No, them niggas wasn't rioting. They just kind of playing around with the cops. That's not rioting. Dudes out here know how to riot. They out here on Crenshaw just kind of fucking around right now just to kind of taunt the cops. They just out there giggling. That's not no real riot. That's just like a little protest. That's the public mischief. That's not no riot. If they really wanted to riot, you'll know it. Some shit will be on fire. You know, you'll know what's popping. So let's stop falling for the hype. They're trying to do this sensationalized journalism out here. But again, like I said, man, that whole stand your ground law and a lot of these gun laws, they were racially based. And I talked about this Sunday out here in California. A lot of people don't know that in California, up into the 1960s, you could walk around with a rifle fully loaded. You can walk around with a rifle in the open, a rifle or a shotgun. And what happened, Huey P. Newton from the Black Panthers, 1967, he was studying law books and he saw that little loophole in the law where you can carry a gun as long as you don't point it at nobody. Then the Black Panthers started walking around with those guns, and immediately they changed them laws overnight. And the NRA, who's always talking about don't nobody take our guns, don't nobody take our guns, no gun control, you know, that's their cry now. They're always talking about Obama trying to take our guns. He's trying to give us gun control. Go do your research. In 1967, when the Black Panthers had them guns, the NRA was the first ones talking about we need to get the guns off the streets. The NRA was saying this. Look that up. They were for gun control when black men had guns. You understand what I'm saying? These laws are racially based. So don't let them hide behind the law. Laws are not inanimate objects. Laws are created by people with biases. Understand that. So don't let them run that, oh, it's just the law game on you. And like I said Sunday, man, with the whole Zimmerman thing, the prosecution, they were doing a half-assed job. They weren't really trying to go in. They did a real half-assed job on this case. I mean, they didn't bring up that man's domestic violence. They didn't bring up the molestation charges that one of his cousins put upon him. They didn't bring up the altercation he had with a police officer. So, I mean, you could have went in on this dude. When I saw they weren't doing that, I'm like, this is just a farce. I said, this is a farce. This is bullshit. They're just messing around right now. They're not even trying. I knew they weren't trying. They were just kind of going through the motions. And the thing is, I'm not going to beat up on the sisters right now, but all the black female feminists, let me talk to you 1 second, and I'm not going to beat you up, but I do have to point this out because I've had a lot of problems and beefs with so-called black female feminists in the past. I wonder if this is a wake-up call to a lot of black female feminists. And again, I'm not trying to beat y'all sisters up, but one of the main feminist lawyers in the country, the most popular one, is Gloria Allred. Now, y'all know how I feel about black females claiming feminism. It's never been for you. It's not for you. It's almost insane to even claim or try to identify yourself with that. And I've had several arguments with several feminists, and they've attacked me vehemently. I mean, there's black feminist pages all over the internet where they attack me for speaking out against certain things and trying to wake them up. Well, Gloria Allred, like I said, white feminist lawyer. And Gloria Allred, she's always in the media talking about children's rights. I gotta fight for the rights for children. Children. It's all about the children. We got to get some alimony because it's all about the children. At one point, Gloria Allred tried to get Michael Jackson's kids taken away from him when Michael Jackson was overseas and he held the baby out of the window. She was on the news. Oh, Michael needs to be brought up on charges. We got to get those children. It's all about the children. So, Miss Gloria, it's all about the children Allred, when she was on the news, I saw this yesterday, and they asked about the Trayvon case. You know what she said? Justice was served. It ain't about race, people. Justice was served. He was found not guilty. Let it go, everybody. Justice was served. Basically, fuck the children as long as they black. Fuck Sabrina Fulton. None of that feminist stuff for her. Justice was served. That should send a clear message to any female sister out here who claims black feminism. If that doesn't send a clear message, I don't know what does. But I digress. Again, I'm not here to beat my sisters up. I'm not here to beat you up. I'm here to enlighten you. I'm here to show you the game that's being played. Black folks, we are out here playing games and we're bullshitting. And people out here are not bullshitting. Now, I know some people were talking about and I see this on the news a lot, where they're saying that the FBI said that this case is not about race. FBI said it's not about race. When do we have to listen to the FBI? The FBI does not have a good track record as far as race relations. We're talking about the same FBI that was behind COINTELPRO, the same FBI that had J. Edgar Hoover, who hated black folks, who went out of his way to attack every single black organization in America. That FBI. So, again, people, let's not play games. This whole case was all about race. It was strictly about race. Everything about this case was about race. When people say, oh, I'm confused, I don't know what's going on, this makes no sense, I don't know what's happening, this is just baffling. None of it is baffling. None of it doesn't make sense. None of it is confusing. Everything is very logical. This trial was all about race, and this was about power, and this was about the dominant society exercising their power over the black population and putting you in your place. Do you understand that? It's all about putting you in your place and how they can use the system that they know will work for them against you. This was a group effort. It was like a team effort. And this is why everybody's so congratulatory. Did you notice after the Zimmerman verdict, all the white supremacists and all of these people calling in talk shows and getting on Twitter, there's this whole congratulatory vibe. Everybody's high-fiving each other that this black kid got killed. Everybody's patting themselves on the back. I've listened to radio shows and talk shows, and what's funny, when people call up and say, yeah, it wasn't about race, and then the next sentence, they go into all these racial epithets about black people. All of these radio talk show hosts and all of their callers, every one of them, and people on Twitter and social networking, all of them are dead nigga this, dead nigga that, you black coons, baboons. Everything about this shit is racial. And when people can hide, the racial epithets come flowing. When they can hide their identity, when they're not being, when you can't see them. So let's not play games. Let's just be realistic. And black folks, you don't have the luxury to play games, because the problem is I see black folks going around talking about, I don't think it's about race either. Nigga, kill yourself. That's what I want to talk to, because again, my message right now is for the black folks. What are you going to do? You don't have the luxury to be in denial. That dumb porch monkey house nigga denial coon shit that you niggas are on, those who are on that, that's not going to work right now. That's not going to stop the foot of white supremacy going square up into your ass and striking you down and annihilating you. That's not going to stop that. Being in denial has never helped the people out in situations like this, and this is a war situation. And understand this, man, this whole case, and I talked about this Sunday, when people are asked, what was Trayvon Martin's rights? What was his rights? What could he have done differently? The whole vibe is that Trayvon had the right to go home. He should not have been out there. What was he doing rambling around at night? Some people even make up some bullshit about, well, he had some tools in his pocket and he was casing the neighborhood. You know, they get real dumb with that. I've heard a few people say that stupid shit. But the general consensus is he should not have been out at night anyway. That's what he gets. He shouldn't have been out there. And that goes into that whole Jim Crow sundown town shit. And that's what this whole case is about, people. I went real deep into this on Sunday, and there's a book called Sundown Towns that I reference. But in this country for years, white people know this, but black people don't know this. That in this country for years, there were neighborhoods that black people were not allowed to be in after 6 o'clock. Not just in the South, all through the North. All through in different places in Illinois, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all over the place. Even out here in California, there are several thousands of cities in this country that had an unofficial and official rule that any black person caught after 6 o'clock, you're going to get arrested, beaten, or killed. This was very real, and there is a book that documents all of this, written by a white guy, by the way, called Sundown Towns. Now, y'all remember back in the day, because see, a lot of times we were told things as kids, but we didn't know why. Now, if you're a little older, I say like 35 plus, you remember a time when you would be out playing, and then your mom, your parents, your grandma would say, hey, you out there playing, but come home when the street light come on. Y'all remember that? When the street light come on, get in the house. And they were dead ass serious. There was a time when, because now you see kids hanging out all types of, you kids be out at 10 o'clock at night right now. But back in the day, your parents were adamant about your ass getting in that house before the street light came on, because the street light came on around 5:30. You understand that? So with that street light, that was a signal, and that was because of white folks. In white areas, that was the alarm to let black people know it's time to go in the house. Don't be out, not just in white neighborhoods, but in many cities and many towns, they didn't want black people out, period, at night. Any black person out at night, you gonna get the business. So when that street light came on, nigga be in the house. I know in Aurora, not Aurora, no, it's Anna, Illinois. I want y'all to look up the racial history of Anna, Illinois. They had a bell that they would ring at 6 o'clock, warning all the black people to go inside. I think, according to the book Sundown Town, I think the bell is still there, the alarm. They would ring an alarm at 6 o'clock, and I still think they do it symbolically. Look that up. But they would ring an alarm at 6 o'clock, letting all the black people know it's time to go over back across the tracks. Get on up out of here. You understand? So that whole segregation thing never went anywhere to control the black population. So now what they do, they've created the gated communities now. And that's what the gated communities are like, their own little enclaves of sundown towns. You understand? And what happened was Trayvon Martin was in this sundown town. He was in this, quote, gated community where he shouldn't have been in. He was suspicious, which he wasn't doing anything. Zimmerman ran up on him, knowing the consequences of doing something to a black male because people in that community thought like Zimmerman. Zimmerman stepped to the man and killed him. Stepped to that young boy and killed him. And everybody agreed with it. Because people understand that sundown mentality. They understand that Jim Crow mentality. They understand that you're not supposed to be in our town after dark. So this is going to send a message to the rest of you niggers. That's really all this case was about. That Jim Crow sundown law. That's all this was about. So of course there's a racial element to it, of course. Let's not play dumb. I know some people are trying to compare this case, well, not too many people, but, on the internet, they're trying to find something to hang their hat on. There's a guy named Marley Lyon. There was a white kid. He got killed. I think he was 17 years old. And people are trying to, because they're always trying to find this kind of equal racism coming from blacks that whites don't get injustice to, which is bullshit, because there's this kid named Marley Lyon. He got killed by some black guys. And they said, well, there's no big outcry. It didn't go national. It was just a local story. Well, you know why it was just a local story and the Trayvon Martin story was natural? Because the Marley Lyon, when he was killed, immediately they went around to find out who did it. Once they found who did it, they arrested him. Not only did they arrest the black dudes who did it, they arrested all of their associates who weren't even there. They got accessories after the fact. So they started arresting a whole bunch of people, putting them in jail and convicting them. So it didn't take a national movement to get these dudes arrested. So that's why there was no outcry. It took a national movement to get Zimmerman just arrested, and he still got off. So let's not try to compare the racism or non-existent racism there. This fake mythological black supremacy, these guys keep trying to pretend that exists. And this whole denial and lie thing, that's another part of the whole story that a lot of black folks keep falling for. Because this whole story that Zimmerman had, that he was attacked and sucker punched and Trayvon was like, you gonna die tonight, motherfucker. And that stuff it's so far-fetched, and there's so many lies that Zimmerman said that they didn't even introduce in court. I mean, in the pre-trial, Zimmerman got on the stand and said, hey, I'm sorry I had to kill him. I thought he was my age. I didn't know he was that young. But on the 911 call, Zimmerman clearly says he looks like a teenager. So there's so many lies that this guy has told. And I swore, I knew that those lies were going to be introduced in court, and they just let that slide. I mean, they seriously half-assed this case. They half-assed prosecuted that case. They weren't even trying. And the thing is, man, what's interesting is that they've interviewed some of the jurors, and one of the jurors was talking real reckless, and some of the stuff she was saying, people were kind of concerned with, because her mentality and the things she was saying, she's very sympathetic towards George. She believed everything he said, and that's another thing. A lot of people in the dominant society, they have a tendency to believe every single detail when somebody's describing some kind of incident with a black person. When there's a non-black person having an incident with a black person, everything said about the black person is believed, no matter how far-fetched it is. You talk to people about the whole Trayvon case, whatever Zimmerman say, people act like it's gospel. Well, Trayvon shouldn't have ran up and hit him and bashed his skull in the... Nobody bashed that man's skull in. You can clearly see his skull wasn't bashed in. But again, when it comes to black folks and somebody making a charge against them, the general rule, if they black, believe everything they say. Let me tell you something. That's an old habit of the dominant society. They'll believe some shit even if the black dude don't exist. You'll see this whole image of Trayvon, of this big super thug, and you can look at this kid. He's kind of a little slight, little lanky, kind of goofy kid. Now, black folks, we look at him, we know he's just a little goofy teenager who plays around on the internet. There's nothing thuggish or gangster about Trayvon. Even his friends, he's not no thug or gangster. He's like a real soft-spoken, low-key dude. But according to the dominant society, he's super nigga. He wears gold teeth and smokes and does drugs, and he has superhuman strength where he can beat up grown men and kill them. And you know, every time they describe Trayvon, he always gets bigger in every story. Oh, he was 6'12". He was 7 feet tall. I know he was skinny on the picture where he died, but that's because he lost blood. He was really big and buff. But again, like I say, man, people will believe stuff about black folks even if the black person doesn't exist. People are that eager to hang their hat on their racism. That's how eager they are. They'll believe anything about a black person, no matter how far-fetched, no matter how unsubstantiated it is. Even if the nigga don't exist, they'll believe it. Just like in Boston, y'all remember many years ago in Boston, this guy named Stewart, he killed his wife in Boston and then said some black dude did it. And the people in Boston were all looking for this non-existent black dude. They were combing the streets looking for a non-existent black dude. A lot of people in Boston remember that. That happened, I think, in the 90s, sometime in the late 80s or the early 90s. And they were arresting brothers. They were out there arresting brothers, just sweeping the streets, arresting brothers left and right, looking for a non-existent black suspect, because everybody believed that bullshit. Again, that's that whole Susan Smith thing. A black man drowned my kids. Y'all remember her? The white lady who drowned her kids in a car and then said a black dude did it, and they were looking for brothers. They were all over the country looking for brothers, rounding them up. They just took her word for it. That's that old Jim Crow shit. Whenever somebody screams rape, oh, he raped, let's go lynch the whole town. You don't ask questions. You take everything for face value. Here's another. I can just name case after case, and not just during Jim Crow, even now. Some white lady said some black folks jumped on her and wrote the word bitch on her face, but then they saw the word and it was written backwards, like she did it in the mirror, and they found out, like, oh, wait a minute, we didn't take time to investigate this shit. Look that up. There's a white woman who said somebody beat her up and wrote the word bitch on her face, and then they ran with it for a second because it was a white woman accusing black folks or something, so they ran with it, but then common sense kicked in a little bit. They said, wait a minute, the word bitch is spelled backwards. Oh, this fool did it in the mirror, and now she done pulled a whammy bammy on us. So that's how eager people are to believe the black boogeyman menace. So this is why all those jurors believe that cockamamie bullshit story about Zimmerman, who's on the phone. He's gangster on the phone. Oh, these fucking punks. Oh, these assholes always get away. Fucking punks. He's getting away. He's Billy Badass on the phone, but when the phone hangs up, all of a sudden he becomes a delicate lamb. All of a sudden he becomes scared and timid, and he's looking around for an address, and Trayvon jumped out from the bushes and swung and broke his nose and then bashed his head, and he screamed, and he had to maneuver and get his gun and scream until he shot him. Now that sounds like some shit that a crackhead would make up. And people sat up and believed that bullshit story, or pretended to believe, because deep down they don't believe that. I said that last week on the show. They don't believe that, but it's this whole pretend denial thing. So the thing is, man, it's almost like revenge. People are mad because Obama got involved. This is like OJ revenge. People bringing up OJ. I mean, people held that OJ bug in their ass for 20 years. So all the racial politics are coming out of this case. People have been sitting on this, waiting on this. They've been waiting on this victory, even though it's a kid. And that's another thing, black folks. We're going to have to start protecting our children, and we're going to have to start protecting our elderly. Because again, there's other cases like this where there's old white dudes shooting black kids. There's a case in, I think, Milwaukee, Wisconsin now. There's a guy who shot this 13-year-old kid, an old 79-year-old dude, 79-year-old white guy shot a black kid. And they got that on tape. They got that one on tape. Because, hell, he was going to say some shit like, well, the guy was breaking in my house, and there's proof that the guy didn't break in his house. So they got that on tape. But what they're going to try to use, and I saw their defense that they're going to try to use for the old man, they're going to try to say, well, he was feeble-minded. He's old. He didn't know what he was doing. He was out of his mind. He wasn't in his right mind. That's why he shot the kid. So he didn't know right from wrong. That's their defense. Look that up. I can't make this shit up. So again, man, people, man, they will circle their wagons out here. That's why black folks got to stop making up dumb excuses. You got a lot of black folks out here who will parrot a lot of stuff that a lot of racist whites are saying. Well, it's a deflection tactic. They'll say, well, we shouldn't get mad about Trayvon because we be killing ourselves. That's what they be saying on Fox News. Not only is that's a cop-out. I talked about that last week. Niggas, please stop saying that lame, weak, untrue, out of context bullshit. Because all that says to me is that you're scared. When you say that, let me tell you, you niggas ain't fooling nobody. You're scared. You're scared to challenge white supremacy, so you're going to look at other black folks, and it's easier to point the finger at them because that gets you out of challenging what's really whooping your ass. And that, it's black on black crime. It's black on black crime. We keep hearing that over and over. You know why you keep hearing that? Because nothing is random, and I talked about this very in depth on Sunday. You keep hearing that because this whole thing violates international laws. This whole case, and really just the whole treatment of black folks in America in general, it gets into violating international treaties, international laws. And again, I go real deep into that on Sunday's show. You got to look at that. And that was one of my solutions. And I talked about this in depth. We got to go to the UN. We got to start going over the heads of people. And this is some shit that we need to go take to the UN as a collective, because a lot of times individual people try to do it and then they get caught up in the game. And I'm going to do a whole show on that. I might do it next week talking about that. But we should take that to the UN. I know I went real hard on that on Sunday. I think Jesse Jackson kind of mentioned that today. But this violates like genocide laws, because again, in this country, black folks are treated like second-class citizens, and with this Trayvon Martin case, that's almost giving a green light for genocide. This guy was killed for race. He was killed because of his race. Now, they keep saying it's not because of race, it's not because of race, but it is because of race. Just because they're saying it's not doesn't mean it's not true. He was killed because he was a black kid. So the thing is, that violates international genocide laws. You're not supposed to kill people based on their race. You're not supposed to thwart their procreation based on race. And I talked about this on Sunday. In prisons, they sterilize sisters in prison. Out here in California, there's a case now where they got caught sterilizing black women in prison. So again, the genocide is popping off heavy. They're getting the ball in motion. So black folks are going to have to do something now. Black folks can't be on this passive shit. And the problem with black folks, we wait until shit gets real thick and then decide to do something. And it don't work like that. You got to get it popping. So again, this is violating international genocide laws, and black folks need to convene as a collective, as a group, to the UN. We need to stop doing these little marches in the streets here, trying to march against the court system. I think what we should do is use the UN as a bargaining chip to get Eric Holder and the Department of Justice to file civil rights charges against this whole Trayvon Zimmerman case. And not only that, we still need to go to the UN to just get general protection. This is why they can do certain things to the black population, because black people are not protected, because I've been saying over and over, you're technically not citizens. So this is why we can get shit on, and there's nobody we can run to. The same justice system that's shitting on us, we can't depend on that. So who do you run to if you're a refugee, basically? Listen to the lecture I did in Atlanta. Go to TariqLive.com and download that. I break that whole thing down about us technically being refugees. You understand that? So we got to really look into that. This is real deep stuff. And again, what they do in America, they push the image of post-racial and black progress. Like, hey, look at this black president. There's no racism. Look at the black president. And we, as a people, we have to let the world know that's not what's popping. Just because the black president is there, he can't even mention our name unless it's in a reprimanding tone. And then they'll push out the image of the rich rapper. Like, hey, look how great the blacks are doing. Look at this rapper balling out. And that's not reality. See, all of that is image. That's why they always promote rappers all around the world, to make it seem like we got it popping over here. They make it seem like we are balling out over here by showing rich rappers all the time, and that is not the case. And we got to be very thorough about that. And remember, this is warfare. And when we step to the table, we got to step hard. We got to stop coming to the table weak, putting our weakest representatives out there. You understand what I'm saying? Like that, what's his name? Benjamin Crump. And I've criticized that brother before. He seems like a nice guy. He seems like a nice dude. I'm not trying to shit on that brother, but he got to stop doing interviews. That brother can't talk for shit. He's a lawyer, I understand that, but we can't have lawyers out here who sound like Lil Bootsy. We can't have that, man. And the dude, every time he's on camera, he looks and sounds like he just got through eating a fried bologna sandwich. That's not the look we need, man. We got to come stronger than that. We got to come hard in the paint. People in the dominant society, they put their best, most articulate people out there to represent. You understand? Because this is not over, remember, because there's a possibility of a civil rights case going on. So we got to be very clear what's popping out here. This is why people, we got to stop letting goddamn Rachel Gentile, whatever her name is, stop letting her do interviews. On the real, I mean, she did an interview on Piers Morgan's show. Hey, she seems like she might be a cool chick, you know, off camera and all that stuff. But right now, we don't need her doing interviews. Whoever is handling her, stop her from doing interviews. Black folks, stop clapping, because when she was on the Piers Morgan show, she was saying some silly nigga shit, and they black folks up there clapping like it's cute and funny. Dude, this ain't time for that. And I'm not trying to shit on that sister. I'm not trying to go in on her, but we don't need that weak shit out here saying any and everything, because even when she was in court, she's saying every fucking thing that pops in her mind. It's cool to be honest, but you got to be tactful. Like her getting on the stand, Trayvon saying, creeper cracker, follow me. I mean, you don't say that. You don't give them ammunition because it's an innocent thing. He didn't mean anything by it negatively, but you're giving them something to flip and hang their hat on. And they flip that shit. Everything comes out of her mouth. That shit makes headline news. Everything comes out of Rachel Gentile's mouth. It makes headline news. So she was doing this interview on Piers Morgan. So, Trayvon, they thought it was somebody gay. It's somebody gay chasing him, you know. And now they're flipping that. They're like, okay, so Trayvon, was he gay bashing? Was he trying to violate civil rights? Was it gay So they're flipping every little thing she's saying. She doesn't know that they're picking her brain to get things to use against the memory of Trayvon and just black folks in general. Because again, there's still a potential civil rights case here. So I saw a headline the other day saying that Trayvon Martin, was he trying to violate gay rights or something about Trayvon Martin being a gay basher because he thought Zimmerman was a gay rapist. So again, they will flip words and then put out some kind of headline that's seemingly slanderous, but they'll try to use that in court. So you got to be very careful about what you say. And this Rachel Gentile, she doesn't know how to have decorum about what she says. She don't know how to think 10 steps ahead of the game, knowing that what she say might be used against her later on down the line. So every little fucking ignorant thought that pops in her head, she's going to spit it out. So she doesn't need to do interviews no more. And I know I'm sounding mean, but we got to be that serious about handling this business. We can't let weak folks get out here and they take stuff from the weak and use against the whole population, because that's exactly what they're doing. Because let me tell you something. Like I said earlier, those jurors, they're starting to do interviews, and one of those jurors was talking some real stupid shit, saying some shit she wasn't supposed to say. She was very sympathetic towards George. She was calling him George instead of Mr. Zimmerman. Well, George, his heart was in the right place. And she was saying some shit like, well, George, I think they asked if would you let him be your neighborhood watch? He was like, yeah, I would probably, but as long as, George, his heart's in a good place, but he just took it a little too far, meaning killing Trayvon. So killing Trayvon is George Zimmerman just taking it a little too far. So this is the mindset of these jurors. And she was saying it. I mean, they were interviewing her, letting her say all her stupid shit. Oh, I believe all that stuff George said. I believe he was beat up. I believe they were referring to Trayvon Martin and Gentile. Well, they and those people, you know how they do when white folks be described, when racist white folks describe blacks, it's those people there. It's not us. It's those people. You're the other. You ain't me. George is me, but you're those people. So just, we know, black folks know, you know the code words when you talk to certain people. You know to pick up on those words. You know what words mean. You know what certain phrases mean. You know, if you're an adult black person and you dealt with any kind of people within the dominant society, you know what certain words mean by the time you become an adult. So she was talking a little bit too much, and what happened is that immediately all the other jurors the next day start putting out press releases saying, hey, we are distancing ourselves from her. Juror B37 does not represent our views or our thoughts. They quickly distance themselves from her ass. They're like, don't let her represent me. I ain't fucking with her like that no more. The trial is over. What she's saying got nothing to do with me. You understand what I'm saying? So the thing is, man, we got to put our best foot forward in warfare. Because when they put Rachel Gentile on the stand, and this is what, when they interview the jurors, a lot of them keep referring back to her. I didn't find her credible. It was just that Rachel. I knew that. I said that last week when they put her on the stand. Everything else after Rachel Gentile was blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. That's everything that the jurors heard. They got what they needed when they put her on the stand. They just needed something to hang their own racism on and blame it on and justify it. And when they put her on that stand, that justified their inner racism. Don't get it twisted. So yeah, we can't stop. We got to stop with this whole sympathetic thing, thinking that people are going to take pity for our weaknesses. Like with that Rachel thing, well, she can't talk and she seems uneducated because she speaks Creole and Spanish and that's her second language. Nigga, stop, black folks, stop. Stop. She speaks fluent hood rat. Stop. Let's stop making excuses for weak shit. We just don't need the weak shit right now. People are looking for any reason to destroy you. It's just like when you watch the TV show The First 48. See, the thing is, black folks talk too much, and you think if you talk, people are going to give you sympathy. Especially around white folks. Black folks love to try to garner sympathy from whites, and that shit never happens. Whites pretend to have sympathy. They'll throw you a bone and then kick you dead in your ass in the next sentence. But like on First 48, you always see dudes in the interrogation room and the cop starts playing them. Come on, buddy, I know you didn't mean to do it, buddy. I know you go through hard times. Then these dumb niggas start falling for it. Man, we didn't mean to kill nobody, man. We just planned on robbing them, man. I just rode in the car. I didn't shoot nobody. I drove the car. I thought it was just gonna be a robbery. And then when I got there, they shot him, man, and I cried and came home. And the cops are like, oh, man, you know what? You did the right thing, Dante. You did the right thing, Dante. Now, Dante, I'm going to have to arrest you, okay? Take this life sentence, because that's what you get, nigga. Thank you for saving me and the prosecution money, prosecuting your dumb ass because you just gave us a confession. But thank you, and you did the right thing, nigga. You understand what I'm saying? They always use your sympathy against you, fool. Stop trying to be sympathetic or garner sympathy from other people. You understand what I'm saying? And another thing with black folks, too, this is another scary tactic that black folks always coming up with all these conspiracy theories. I have some, whenever people post that shit on my Facebook wall, I take it off. I had some people hit me up on Facebook. Man, I think this is a conspiracy. This is a blood sacrifice. Trayvon dad was a Mason. I think it's like they're trying to use this as a smokescreen for the Rex 84 camps. And nigga, shut the hell up. You're scared. You're scared. You're scared. This is white supremacy whooping your ass. You can't challenge it, or you don't think you can challenge it, and you're scared. So it's better to come up with some dumbass conspiracy theories that ain't true, and instead of facing the facts that white supremacy is beating your ass and you don't know what to do and you're scared to do something about it. Just say that. You understand that? And again, don't fall for this whole another thing, because people have so many smoke screens like, well, Zimmerman, he's not. Why is this a white or black thing? Zimmerman's Hispanic. Stop all that. Again, I done been through that a million times. There's no such thing. Hispanic is not a race. Many Hispanic people are classified as white. Also, if Zimmerman is so Hispanic, why are you guys so supportive of him? I ask people that all, some of these white supremacists in these races, I'm like, okay, so why are you so supportive of Zimmerman? Well, we just didn't want to see an innocent man get framed. Okay, so when did you guys in the dominant society ever get so lovey-dovey about a goddamn Hispanic person? Any other day, you're trying to fight all types of immigration laws. Damn the Mexicans, damn the Puerto Ricans, damn the Hispanics. They're coming over trying to get our jobs. Everything is death to the Hispanics. You're not so crazy about Hispanics on any other day. You're trying to block every kind of immigration law. Now, all of a sudden, the Hispanic guy, you're fighting for him. You're fighting for him, and he's your hero now. So he's your hero if he kills a black person, if he does something that you really want to do, which is racial. See, y'all keep trying to escape the racial element of it, and you keep running right back into the racial element of it. So my thing is, just be honest about it. And I understand being honest about it. If you're honest about it and you say you're doing something you ain't supposed to do, by karmic definition, you have to change that. So playing dumb and being in denial allows you to be in the same system that will benefit you. So my message is to black folks. The message is to black folks. What are you going to do, black people? What is your next move? What are you going to do? Because people are letting you know how they feel right now. People are letting you know how you stand with them right now. So what are you going to do, black folks? I've heard some black folks say, well, man, we just going to leave it in God's hands. That ain't going to work, player. God put it in your hands. God has given you arms, legs, head, and brain to think. God has given you all the tools you need. Your ass got to get up there and utilize the tools. What are you going to do? Don't give me that it's going to be in God's hands stuff. God put it in your hands. What are you going to do? Going in a store, grabbing a bunch of clothes and running out with your friends, that's all right. That ain't it. Now what? What are you going to do to change the system, challenge the system? One thing is definitely group economics. My thing, again, we got to go over motherfuckers' heads. We got to start exerting power. How do you get power? You got to go global, people. That is my answer. If you have a better answer, let me know. But we got to go global. Go read this document called We Charge Genocide. That was a document that they brought to the UN, I think in 1951. Certain brothers, I think it's W.B. Du Bois, Paul Robeson, a couple of people. I talked about that in depth on Sunday. They took it to the United Nations, and that document really helped kick off the civil rights movement. There's a good book on that. It's called Eyes Off the Prize. Check that book out as well. But brothers went to the UN and charged the United States with genocide, and it was a handful of brothers who did it, and the U.S. was trying to block them and thwart them, and they were in their asses about it. But the thing is, a lot of us we got to do it as a whole. A lot of us has to do that. We got to do that. We got to go over there and say, hey, this is what's happening, to shed light on it. If we're going to get some real justice, at least protection until we get shit popping, but at least protection. And again, I'm gonna have to do a whole show about that. I might do that next week and really go in depth about that, man. But discuss among yourselves, what are we gonna do? What are we going to do now that war has been waged? Because when they gave the verdict for the Zimmerman trial Saturday, they waited until Saturday night. They were very strategic about it. They waited until Saturday night when it was late, motherfuckers be out, all the stores and shit would be closed. They waited till everything was closed just in case people ran out and started hurting folks. So they waited till Saturday night. The streets were, wasn't packed late Saturday night. And then they knew that Sunday morning people be in church and the preachers were already ready to pacify you. They already got to all the preachers around the country to get them to pacify the black collective. And they knew by Monday the energy would start to dissipate. And by Monday, and I was tweeting about this, by Monday everybody was like, hey, so what's going on Love and Hip Hop tonight? Everybody was back on their Love and Hip Hop shit. You dig? So they strategically did everything they were supposed to do. So what are you going to do now, black folks? The complaining thing isn't over. Again, now what we can immediately do, again, stay on the Department of Justice. And I know this is Obama and those guys, this is their last year in office, so they're not gung-ho to do anything because we don't have any bargaining chips no more. So the bargaining chips is going international. That's the bargaining chip. Let them know that we're down to go international if you don't get shit popping here. And again, I'm going to have to do a whole show about that next week. I think I'll touch on that next week or in the weeks to come and really break that down. But discuss among yourselves about what we need to do. Come up with some good, practical strategies. You feel me? Anyway, y'all, that's been today's episode of Mac Lessons Radio Show. Don't forget to go to TariqLive.com. Get that pay-per-view special, The Game for Women. Also, get the Liberty t-shirts, the Heraldry t-shirts. I got a new commemorative t-shirt coming out for Trayvon Martin as well, to commemorate the life of Trayvon Martin. I got that coming out. I was going to get some promotional copies printed up, and the company that prints up my promotional copies, they sent me a memo back saying that it was too controversial for them to print. I'm like, wow. I kind of had they might be Zimmerman supporters, because I kind of had a feeling when I sent it in for them to print up. I'm like, what if they support Zimmerman and they see this, and because white folks are mad, or not mad, but they're celebratory. They're not mad, but they're celebratory right now. So they're having pep rallies right now. So anything that's pro Trayvon or whatever, they ain't really fucking with it. But anyway, I digress as far as that. But go to TariqElite.com, get the clothes, get the sunglasses, get the t-shirts, and I'll holler at you guys on Ustream Sunday. Peace.